So here we are with three founding members of Änglagård, Johan, Jonas, and Matthias. Hi, guys.
Hey!
Hello.
And we're having this discussion because you guys are now on tour. And we were all excited when last year we heard that Änglagård is coming back together. Can you share with us how was the decision made? Who approached who? How was the process of bringing the band back together again?
I mean, oddly enough, it was after a show with the Swedish prog band 30 Years War, who played a show in Stockholm. And I was planning on going, but showed up a bit late with my daughter. And then when I came there, I heard that Johan and Jonas had just left. So I gave Jonas a ring and said, like, we should meet up. So we met up at a bar because I'd been thinking about the fact that it was 30 years since Hybris came out, that we should do something in one way or another. So we spoke, and then a couple of weeks later, I think we met up and started talking about it. And then I think it was in August, September last year, we met up at my studio, and we had just played through a couple of songs to see how that would work, because there was it's very easy to do it there and without any real ambition or anything, just to see if it was a possibility at all to do it.
And I thought, of course, it was totally unrealistic, but I didn't say anything at the bar.
Touring for a rock band is usually perceived as something that's very wild and carnal, rock band touring. But it looks like for Änglagård, touring is a much, let's say, calmer experience. Can you share with us how is your touring experience? Any crazy or interesting stories from the last of the previous tours?
Well, I mean, for me, it's more about the music and meeting the fans that is important. I think not getting drunk and this rock style life. More like good dinner and some nice wine and friends, and that's more our style, I think.
I think that the last sequence of tours we made was pretty well planned and good logistics compared to what we did in the old days. I think we learned a lot, so it definitely was quite calm and not so complicated, but otherwise, but you always have a risk of being screwed. That's really challenging, I think. I mean, you might end up with you plan for a show and then you end up with the concert. They might perhaps they don't sell enough tickets, or they have some problems and they don't pay your fee or just half the fee, and that pisses you off and gets you unmotivated and causes a lot of tension in the band, and that happens regularly. I think for all artists, that's I think that's painful.
But I mean, I don't know. I think that when it comes to the whole carnal lifestyle on being on tour and everything like that, I mean, I think I definitely have a severe case of FOMO and all of that. And I mean, because when you go to a different city and a different place, I mean, you want to see as much as that place as you possibly can. And also, I just, because I was thinking about it, that a lot of, for instance, the first time when we played in the US in, what was it, 1992? The people...
Yeah. 93.
Yeah. Oh, 93.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the people that picked us up at the airport are still close friends that I still meet to this day. And I mean, I've been recording with bands that I've met on tour. So it's just I mean, being on tour is just a very accelerated lifestyle in a way. And I mean, you can choose to be open for that and meeting other people and meeting other cultures and trying things. I think that's one of the best parts of it.
Never drinking something before the show. It's a rule we have. We try to have.
You guys have won the title Album of the Year in Prague Archives and other like very critically acclaimed places every time you make an album. I mean that was actually one of the pitches that we one of the parts of the pitch that we did. I mean look at this crazy band. I mean they do an album, goes straight to #1 in Prague. And that includes A Drop of Light by All Chaps on Earth. I'm putting this in the mix along with the Änglagård albums. What do you think makes your music so appealing to fans and critics that they go wild every release? I mean, what's your secret sauce to top the charts?
Well, I would think that from a lot of that comes from like the beginning of the band. That I think that for a lot of progressive rock bands, you might have a guitar player who's like really into Genesis and King Crimson, but then you have like a bass player who actually really wants to play like fusion or jazz, but can play this prog for now, right? Or you have a drummer who's like into playing pop or whatever, and then everyone is like compromising. I think that with Änglagård, like very early from the start, we wanted to be a like classic progressive rock band with these like symphonic influences. That's what we like set out to do, and that was like the formula of doing that. So that was like if that is the starting point, you don't break from that, because that's what we were like supposed to do. We never went into like, what if we did a album of like American standards or anything like that. But this was like, we set out the goal from the beginning was pretty was very defined from the start, which I think sets it apart from a lot of other bands where you have like members wanting to do like they're kind of like just like playing along for the ride in a way. I think with our band, it's been like pretty defined from the start.
Yeah. And there is when we write music, there is no compromises. We are really focused on our unique style, and I think that's over all the year. We have our sound, and nothing can break it.
So look, it looks like we will see you guys in September in Israel finally, and usually Israel, politically, it's a loaded and complex subject, right? Especially in Europe. Yet you guys are so enthusiastic about playing here. What is it about Israel that draws a lot of positive vibes from you guys?
You and me, we started listening to Avishai Cohen, right?
Yeah.
And I think we discussed a lot. We envisioned this, Tel Aviv needs to. This is probably this place with a great jazz clubs and really good music life, music culture. So we have this picture, I think, inner picture.
But also music unites. It's keep people together, and people living under tough political conditions. I think they need more good, real music to hear. I think we need to come to Israel.
About the whole process that is kind of special show. It is crowdfunded, which is irregular and initiated by fans. And I can say that you guys were 100% with us from the start. And yet, do you feel anything different in the way that you approach this show compared to more, let's say, traditionally produced shows?
I don't know. I think that what it comes down to, like every show is like a meeting between the band and the audience. It is a conversation. It's never like a monologue on our behalf where you just like go there and deliver something. In this case, I think it's a much more intimate conversation, because there is that there's that deal between the band and the audience that we want to really deliver something special. And so I think that that's like one of the things. But I mean, I think it's always, I mean, we're super grateful for the fact and opportunity to come and play. I mean, I always feel that it's more fun to play than not to do it, you know? And this is like just having that intimate relationship with the setup for the show just makes it even more special.
So you got a choice. This is for each of you. You got a choice between telling us about your main musical influences, or with which musicians, living or no longer living, would like to cooperate.
Well, I mean, inspirations. I would say that I think the best living band today is probably Radiohead or Sigur Rós. I think that Björk is continuously doing amazing stuff. I think that I saw that the offshoot band from Radiohead, The Smile, I saw them play, I think it was last year, which I thought was amazing. And they're huge fans of Israel as well. They've played 8 times, I think. So collaborating with people, I think that there's an amazing singer in Iceland called Olaf Arnalds. There's Mark Eitzel in Los Angeles that I'm a huge fan of. Living or dead, then I think that Holger Schuke from Cannes would have been fun to play with.
Cool.
Yeah, Yma Sumac would have been interesting to work with, I think.
Some of my influence, I have to, of course, Chris Squire as a bassist, of course, and what can I say more? Jack Pastorius, of course, and Eberhard Weber from the Germany label ECM, and Stanley Clark, of course, like that. And some collaboration, I don't know really. Maybe the German electronic gods, Tangerine Dream. Maybe, some of their mid-70s stuff. I think, some mix with progressive rock and their more electronic ambient stuff should be really interesting to, that should be nice to try.
What is the usual creative process in Änglagård? The dynamics of writing new material? Who basically does what?
In the early days, I think we did a lot of work in the rehearsal studio.
Together.
All together. We came up with small snippets and pieces that we were contributing with, and then we ensembled everything in the rehearsal studio. There was a period that took a lot of time, but at that time we had that time. Now for lately, and especially when we did Viljans öga, the third studio album, it was mainly more efficient composing in the smaller group, and then you do in a digital audio workstation, you just do some kind of pre-production and work your way from there. So
I think that there's like in those two ways of working. If you listen to the first 2 albums that with Hybris and Epilogue, I mean, there are like bits and pieces that people brought into the rehearsal room, and then they're like arranged and pieced together as a band, but also in a way that it had to be you had to be able to play it and perform it live. On the third album, it wasn't that as much, which meant that, for instance, like on this tour, we're playing one song that we've never played live before. And a lot of the material on the third album was never played like as a unity as such, as much. We had 2 songs from the beginning, but then 2 more came on later. So that changes the whole, like how you write and what limitations you do in the arranging of things. I mean, and then there's like advantages to both ways, of course. But that also explains a bit with the first 2 albums, how there's like a fairly organic dynamic to how those songs like came along, because that's what we could actually do. We could actually play that like in one full like setting, which makes it kind of different. On the other hand, if you do it like write it without that in mind, that means that you can do anything. Like everything is possible, which is like super cool.
Are you all full-time musicians, or do you do anything else besides music?
I'm definitely not. I work as a R&D engineer with audio technologies. I work for Nord Keyboards, so I'm designing keyboards. It's quite a boy's dream job, I think, if you're into engineering and music. So daytime, I'm a keyboard player, or pretend to be.
And I don't work with music that's full time. It's only a hobby for me. But I'm working here in Sweden in a company called Mellotron, and there I'm putting together this cult keyboard instrument, Mellotron. So that's cool. But so it's only a hobby for me, play in the band.
And this is like the only thing that I've ever done since I was 18. So I've like constantly played. So I've like been playing with bands and touring with bands through my entire life. And then when I was like 25, I started producing bands and started recording bands in my studio. So I think the album count now is somewhere around 180 albums or something like that. I don't think I've passed 200 albums yet, but I'm working on it. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be done. But I mean, it's been a really cool journey, and working with bands and working with other musicians. It's always been like what I've wanted to do. So it's been like really great that way. And also having the studio is a lot of fun as well.
Last question, and one of the most interesting to everybody, including myself. Can you share any news about new Änglagård music in the works? Will we see a new release from you guys this decade rather than the next?
Well,
we're quite early in the decade, right?
Yeah.
We have 7 years.
About the roaring 20s, yeah.
We have working on some new materials over some years now, but always when it comes to Änglagård, it's taking long time to complete tracks and songs, and so. But we're working slowly on new stuff. Yes.
I think the next spring thing we should aim for is to try to re-release the old albums. Hybrids on vinyl, for example. That's also a long journey. It shouldn't be that complicated, but I really hope we can have our albums available again on vinyl, especially.
That should be nice.
A demand.
Cool. So, guys, now it's your time. If you want to say something to the audience, if you want to promote anything, completely open before we close this off. Anything that you want to say to the fans in Israel and in the world?
Well, I mean, I think we're just really enthusiastic and looking forward to coming to Israel and to finally meet the people who've been listening to our music for maybe even 30 years, which is it's a long wait for a band to come and play. But I think actually, to be honest, and I think I think we're playing the songs better than we have ever done. So it's a really good version of Änglagård you're getting. It's a bit more mature, a bit more well-paced, I think. We're like a good wine or something. A good wine.
We're not old and tired. We play fast and loud.
We're faster and louder. Yeah.
Louder.
We're playing like both 2 albums in 45 minutes. We're like just whacking it out.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very,
Wonderful.
very, very much for talking to me. We'll see you in almost 2 months. Yeah, actually 2 months.
Oh,
right.
wow. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
Right.
So thanks so much.
That will be
Have
so,
fun.
yeah, so good.
And see you
Thank
soon.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye
Wonderful.
bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.